around his pants, but that doesn't mean anything. It could mean something, but it's not true.
Maggie Haberman is trying to reinforce toxic masculinity on Mark Meadows by making fun of him when he cries. Let men cry.
Oh my God. It's such insanity. Hey folks. Oh, this is good news. This is the one thing that has actually helped my sleeping a little bit. As you know, in life, you can make small changes that can lead to positive lifestyle changes throughout your life. The right towel turns a bathroom into a spa. Wearing certain loungewear turns function into luxury. You can make all these upgrades with Brooklinen. You know Brooklinen is the internet's favorite sheets, but they're also home to bedding, loungewear, towels, and more with over 50,000 5+ star reviews and counting. Now they have everything for life essentials, including shower curtains, bath mats, robes, totes, the final details that make your big upgrade. Folks, since the lockdown, I have purchased 2 new pillows. I have gone in, I've decided that my stiff, unforgiving pillows, I need a little bit more comfort. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I got the plush, non-allergenic or the hyperallergenic ones, of course. And I am loving it. First of all, I got the extended versions of the pillows. What do you call those? The kings. Because it's great for pillow fights with your kids because they can't see the second half of the pillow coming ever. But it's also incredibly comfortable. I love the new pillows. And I got a set of pillowcases, the cool, crisp kind that I like that they sell. They have multiple types of sheets. I have been so happy with Brooklinen, and we've had them as sponsors for a couple of years. And I'm Brooklinizing just about all of my bedding and whatnot. Brooklinen.com. It's the perfect place to start making small changes that make big differences. Brooklinen is so confident in their product that all their sheets, their comforters, their loungewear, their towels come with a lifetime warranty. Go on. Make yourself comfortable. Get 10% off your first order and free shipping when you use promo code MAJORITY only at Brooklinen.com. That's Brooklinen, BROOKLINEN.com. Promo code MAJORITY. Brooklinen, everything you need to live your most comfortable life. And also during the lockdown, not so easy to freshen up your wardrobe. I was very fortunate. I grabbed one of the shirts that I got from Stitch Fix, my thermal crew. And I've been living in that quite a bit. Don't wear it on the show because it doesn't have a collar, but very comfortable. It's my cash wear now. And in the world of clothes shopping, I think many people realize there's no consistent sizes. So why do you have to try and guess if a medium is really a guess or constantly have to return clothes that you purchase online to find something that fits perfectly? Well, Stitch Fix is a personal styling company that makes getting the clothes you love effortless. It's a completely different way to shop that's all about you every time. To get started, go to stitchfix.com/majority. You set up your profile. They deliver great looks personalized just for you and your colors, styles, and budget. You pay $20 styling fee for each fix, which is credited towards anything you keep. So you can schedule at any time. There's no subscription required. You get shipping, returns, exchanges are easy and free. Stitch Fix does the hard work for you, making great styles effortless for everybody, including men, women, and kids. Folks, you know I have a little bit of blockage when it comes to dressing well, and Stitch Fix has been a huge help for me. I got my they look like desert shoes, I guess, a little bit, but they're a little bit nicer. They call them the leather chukka or chukka. I don't know. But it's great. A new pair of shoes. I got that Pilsen Thermal Crew. I got that Nashville 5-pocket straight fit pants, which is nice. I'm off of the carpenter style pants I used to wear all the time. Sent back a mock neck sweater because I don't do mock necks. And I was debating about my flannel shirt they sent me, and it was appropriated by my daughter. So everybody won in that one. It's great. It was super easy. And I was super happy with the things that they picked out for me. You can get started today at stitchfix.com/majority. You get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. It's everything in your box. You keep it 25% off. That's stitchfix.com/majority for 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. stitchfix.com/majority. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Professor Cheryl Laird about steadfast Dems, how social forces shape Black political behavior. We'll be right back after this. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report on the phone. It is a pleasure to welcome to the program Cheryl Laird. She is an assistant professor of government and legal studies at Bowdoin College, and co-author of Steadfast Democrats: How Social Forces Shape Black Political Behavior, written with Duke professor Ismail White. Cheryl, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
And now I got to tell you, I interviewed Davin Phoenix, who wrote The Anger Gap, How Race Shapes Emotion in Politics. I maybe it was 5 or 6 weeks ago now. I have lost sort of semblance of time. Mm-hmm. And he referenced your book. And so I was fascinated by this. And now, of course, I think in the interim, or maybe it was just prior to this, we had our presidential primary on the Democratic side, more or less, decided by the votes, or it started a cascading, I guess, effect by the votes of African Americans in South Carolina. And this is it's a fascinating topic. It's also a fascinating topic. I just finished watching an ad put out by the Trump campaign targeting African Americans. So I want to dig into this, and really the nub of the book is this, what you call the process of racialized social constraint. But before we get there, let's talk about the just give me a broad assessment of Black voters, and I guess the fact that we have different, just like we do with white voters, we have different sort of, I guess, subsets of voters within that rubric.
Yes, I think people often assume, because they see the block voting of African Americans towards the Democratic Party, that there isn't diversity of political thought and political ideas and even perspectives within the community. And so one of the things we talk about very early on in the book is that we can see diversifying political views within the African American community, especially after the Civil Rights Movement, and as economic opportunity has allowed for increased diversity amongst the group in terms of their economics. So there are more upper class Blacks, more middle class Blacks than they have been before over time. And with that, right, that means that motivations that we often think politically would shape how somebody engages in politics have changed for Blacks, yet we continue to see this behavior of the strong partisanship. And so we shouldn't minimize the diversity at all. In fact, the diversity helps to provide some perspective into why we can think about the social behavior we observe of Blacks, because we have Black conservatives and Black liberals. There are Blacks who are particularly positioned on certain economic policy. There are Blacks who are positioned on certain social policy. There are Blacks who are very highly religious. There are African Americans who are very far to the left and progressive. And all of them are engaging, though, in a collective political behavior that is, to some degree, right, having to consider how much is the group interest going to be prioritized over self-interest motivations, and also the social aspect of it. And I can talk a bit more about that. But I mean, essentially, there's a lot of diversity within the Black political perspective and viewpoint.
Okay, and so the group interest is really where we start to get to that sort of racialized social constraint. But before we get there, how do we see this manifested? The range of interests within the context of the African American community, because when it comes to the general election, what are we, like 89%? I think it is of Black folk vote for the Democrat, which is, I think, the next closest sort of voting bloc might be Jews, around 75% or something. So, well in the distance. So where do we see those differences manifested? In the primaries, or in terms of like engagement in politics?
Yeah, so I would say, the primary season is probably one of the opportunities to see that, and especially this primary season. I think this one is a very unique circumstance because of how we have seen the various candidates that were coming in and who was in the lead early on, right? So we had Bernie Sanders, we had Mayor Buttigieg, and different people coming in, and people not really knowing where African Americans were going to fall. I think the political diversity then speaks to a lot of the ways in which people were shifting in their politics, right? At some points, people were considering that Joe Biden may not be as strong with the African American community. Maybe Bernie Sanders would do better. Maybe another candidate would do better. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the political diversity that you see there, right? That there are some African Americans who are, for instance, fairly progressive individuals who align very strongly with the viewpoints of Bernie Sanders and in the political views that he has, but may be risk averse, right? And if they're trying to consider who can win in the election against President Trump, they may be more likely then to lean in a way that would then go with a candidate that would be more likely in their mind to be somebody who could beat President Trump. And in that case, that might be Joe Biden, right? There'd be other individuals who are actually aligned more politically with Joe Biden and see his politics as similar to their own. And so they are going to be individuals who would then support him without having any kind of discrepancy between their own viewpoint and the viewpoints that are being presented by his candidacy and his campaign. So the primary is often the place you see that. I think oftentimes you can also see where the political diversity comes about in even state or local level races, right? That's not necessarily the focus of our book, but it is another arena where you can see that candidate competition in local elections or state elections and races can often be very shaping to how people play out in terms of their support for candidates, especially if there are multiple, for instance, African American candidates running in a race. And you can also see it too in people's understandings of how do people meet the goal of trying to get racial justice, right? And sometimes that comes forth in dialogues and discussions, often in public domains, where people have conversations around, what is needed to try to improve Black circumstances and various viewpoints politically and ideologically about, anything from like a Tim Scott type of individual who is in the Republican Party, arguing much more for a more conservative, individualized type of approach to more collective politics. And so you can see it manifesting in different places, but especially in this electoral race, I think a lot of it was these considerations that were happening in the primary. And
I guess at the very least, let's move to, I guess one more thing too that I think surprised me is the how many Black voters identify as conservative. And what does that mean in that context?
Yeah, so I think it is interesting, right? Because especially in political science, right, typically the literature